So this NPC here is kind of infamous for what she says after the battle. She says, all the Pokemon in the mountains are so rugged and rough. I wish there was one that was pink with a flower pattern. Girl, you better be careful what you wish for because I've seen the future and it's not pretty. Now, as much as I would love to rub this line into the face of every stupid idiot Gen 1er who says all the modern Pokemon designs suck and be like, well, guess what? One of the ugliest ones of them all is possibly inspired by a piece of Generation 1 dialogue. Unfortunately, that seems to be a coincidence because there was an interview from all the way back in 2011 that was only recently translated into English where Sugimori confirmed that Munna and Musharna were actually designed by Atsuko Nishida, who was not given any requirements for what they should look like. She was just told, just draw anything. And it was actually Musharna that came first, and then they created Munna because they wanted it to be a two-stage family. Anyway, we're about to fight a hiker. We've seen hikers before, and they were introduced to us as a friendly trainer class that likes to laugh a lot. A lot of the hikers that we've seen so far have had laughing in their dialogue. And with this guy, they tried to subvert the trope a little bit. Once again, when you first talk to him, it seems like he's laughing. But then after the battle, it turns out the reason he was acting that way is actually because he was high on mushrooms. And of course, the English version being the English version wasn't having that and changed the punchline to him actually sneezing instead of laughing. And that the ha 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 before the battle was actually just like a sneeze incoming. Except that joke only works for the player because it's in text form, but not for the characters in game. They would be immediately able to tell that that's a sneeze and not a laugh. But of course I'm not surprised that the English version censored this. But the thing is, they got away with this in Japan, the country with some of the most backwards ass archaic drug laws. And meanwhile, America, the country that keeps touting about freedom, has to censor it. So we're about to arrive in Shion Town, which is all about ghosts and a Pokemon graveyard and death. And the whole subplot that takes place there is that the Rocket Gang killed a Garagara. Not defeated it in battle, they murdered it. And there's surprisingly little censorship going on there, even in the remakes. There's a little bit once we get into the Pokemon Tower, but the general gist was kept. So what I'm getting out of this is murder, totally okay. But God forbid we mention mushrooms. Anyway, with that out of the way, I'd like to apologize for once again taking forever to get this video out. And a lot of stuff has happened since my last video. From the announcement of Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, and Legends Arceus, to the release of both of those games, to the translator of this game blocking me on Twitter and calling people terrorists for wanting their games to be translated with respect. Oh, and there was also that one time the Pokemon Company International worked together with a bunch of shitty pop artists who probably never played a Pokemon game in their lives and made a bunch of Pokemon-themed virtual concerts, which included this clip. You thought that it was special, but it was just a sex doll. So let's recap, shall we? Sex? Okay. Murder? Okay. Mushrooms? Oh my god, won't somebody please think of the children? And about the two new games that have been released, I'm not gonna say too much about the actual gameplay, because you've heard a million people talk about them at this point. Maybe you've played them yourselves, and you've probably made up your own opinion by this point. But I do want to say a few things about the localization. So first of all, in the trailer for Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, it starts out with like a countdown of years that the different generations were released. And the English version of the trailer continues to pretend that the Japanese version doesn't exist because they list 2007 as the release year for Diamond and Pearl, while the Japanese trailer correctly lists 2006. I've noticed this about American Pokemon marketing a lot. They always pretend like there was nothing before the American release date. Japanese releases almost never acknowledged. And it's not just corporate brands and not just Pokemon either, but I keep seeing these posts on like Twitter or elsewhere where people go like, oh, on this day in gaming, this and that Japanese game was released in the United States. And then everybody celebrates it like it's some kind of historical event. And then the Japanese release date almost never gets the same kind of attention. And then there's the trailer for Legends Arceus, where whoever was in charge of casting the narrator for the English version couldn't even get the fucking gender right. Quality dubbing as expected from TPCI. But something else, you know how a few episodes ago I was ranting about how the Japanese logos for Pokemon games always looked awesome, and the American versions always replaced it with the same boring logo over and over again? And I mentioned how for Sword and Shield, even the Japanese version has started using the same styling as the American one. Well, I was afraid that that was gonna become the new norm, that the franchise has gotten so westernized that they have to globally use the fucking American logo now. But here's a comparison between the Japanese and English logos for Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. So yeah, the Japanese logo actually looks awesome again. Although I wonder if that's just because this one's a remake and for the next completely new installment they'll go back to using the fucking American logo. Because if you look at both the American and the Japanese Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl logo, both of them are going for like a throwback to each country's respective Diamond and Pearl logo. But then there's Legends Arceus, which does use the international logo in Japan, although, believe it or not, for the first time in forever, the US logo actually has a little variation to it. It uses a completely new color scheme, which is especially cool because there's this like leaked picture of like some Nintendo document that says what you're allowed to do with the Pokemon logo and whatnot, and it specifically says in there to never change the Pokemon logo's colors. So it's nice to see that they're at least laxing up a little bit on that front. But yeah, Legends Arceus, it's refreshing to see a Pokemon game being released in the current year that isn't ashamed to be Japanese. Because everything is so westernized these days. Everything has to be in a region that's based on anywhere but Japan. They can't have anything fucking Japanese food or anything in it. And then comes Legends Arceus looking like this. The only problem is they're still using that stupid made-up language instead of actual Japanese writing. So anyway, as I'm sure you all know, Legends Arceus takes place in the Hisui region, which is just the old name for the Sinnoh region, and the whole game takes place in the past, and there's this whole thing about how the characters are like ancestors to the actual characters from Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum. And so is the expedition team, the Galaxy Expedition Team, as it's called in the English version. In Japanese, it's literally has the same name as the Galaxy Gang. It's literally called the Galaxy Gingadan, the Galaxy Gang, just like the evil gang from Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum. But in English, they call it Galaxy Team or Galaxy Expedition Team, like I said before, even though the modern-day Galaxy Gang was localized as Team Galactic and not Team Galaxy. Presumably because of the cartoon show called Team Galaxy, and there would have been copyright issues and whatever. But I guess now enough time has passed for that not to be an issue anymore. Or maybe it's okay because they're calling it Galaxy Team and not Team Galaxy. Anyway, their logo also looks a lot like the modern-day Galaxy Gang logo that we know from Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum. And I saw a post on Twitter that claimed that that logo can be read as the kanji for Gin, which is part of the Japanese word for galaxy. Now, when I first read this, I was like, holy shit, they're actually allowing the use of Japanese characters in a Pokemon game again. How long has it been? But then I looked at it and, like, I kinda see it, but it's one of those cases where they take a real character but change it up a little so that it fits within the guidelines of we're not allowed to use actual Japanese characters, except when you know what it is, you can tell, so it completely defeats the argument of, oh, if we use Japanese characters, it would get lost in translation. Anyway, with the minor nitpicks out of the way, let's get to the big juggernaut, okay? The one thing that really brings my piss to a boil with Legends Arceus' localization. The one aspect that's an all-time low, even for this franchise. The names. Yes, I'm ranting about this again, because they somehow found a way to make it even worse than it was before. And I'm not talking about the Pokemon's names this time, I'm talking about the human characters. So I guess they figured that since the game takes place in such a Japanese-inspired setting, it wouldn't make sense to westernize all the names. So of course the sensible thing to do in this situation would be to just keep all the characters' original names, but of course they're not doing that. That would make way too much sense. Instead, let's change Japanese names into other Japanese names. Now, this isn't the first time they've done something like this. This very game has a character originally named Kyo who gets turned into Koga for some fucking reason. But this time, there's kind of a logic to it, and I use the term logic very loosely. Let's take, for example, the player characters, Teru and Sho. They get turned into Rei and Akari. Now, at first, I thought this was another stupid random change, like, you know, Kyo to Koga. And it seems like for Teru's English name, that's the case. But in Sho's case, and it took me a while to realize this, the English name, as in the Japanese name that she has in the English version, is actually a reference to the Japanese name of her descendant. And they did the same thing for Denboku too. They called him Kamado, you know, as in Nana Kamado. And I'm just sitting there thinking, who the hell are these changes made for? Like, the only people who are gonna get these references are the people who know the Japanese names, and the only people who bother to learn the Japanese names are the people who've been yelling at you for decades to just leave the names alone. Someone at TPCI was thinking, hey, we should try to appeal to fans of the unlocalized names by localizing more names. Like, I'm trying to think of the type of person that would have this thought process, but the only image that comes to mind is a guy in a straitjacket and a white padded cell. And it doesn't stop there either. Like, this keeps going into all the different languages. Like, Teru's name in some languages is a reference to Koki's English name. Sho's French name is literally the exact same as Hikari's German name. It's like fucking Street Fighter where they shuffled all the names around. Except when Street Fighter did it, it was because they were scared of a lawsuit from Mike Tyson. Pokemon is just doing this for the hell of it. I don't know, to own the terrorists or something. And I'd like to once again put emphasis on the fact that this franchise prides itself for bridging international boundaries. Like, yeah, sure, when I talk to a French person, having them completely misunderstand me because two different characters go by the same name in different languages is exactly what I want. And once again, I know stuff like this has happened before, like how Kikyo City is called Mauville in French, even though that's the name of a completely different town in English. But before, that was an isolated incident, maybe it was a coincidence, I don't know. But this time, it's by design. They're all the different localizers and all the different languages came together and decided, hey, we should all randomly fucking start cross-referencing each other all over the place. And to make things worse, when the names got announced, the French version couldn't even be asked to proofread their shit, so they called both characters by the same name, which is also the same name as the fucking German name of a different character. I can't with this bullshit. Also reminds me of a tweet I saw recently where somebody was saying something along the lines of, you look like a complete idiot if you still refer to the character Green as Blue. And I'm like, just by that tweet, I don't know what character you are talking about. Then that is the exact issue. Are you complaining about weeaboos using the Japanese names? Or are you complaining about people sticking to outdated localizations? I don't know what you are trying to say. Do you see the problem yet? And even in the replies to that tweet, some people were interpreting it one way and some people were interpreting it the other way. And I'm like, what the fuck point are you trying to make? And then localizers have the gall to block you on Twitter for calling shit like this out. I am so tired. And I think me being tired is a good enough reason to end the video right around here, because we're about to go into the Pokemon Tower, and that seems like a good cutoff point, so I'll be seeing you guys in the next video.